Hello guys, welcome back to part 4 of this Laravel forum PHP tutorial series. Today we are going to try and finish the register functionality of our system. Now to start off, first we're going to create the view for our form. So inside the views folder, create a new folder and call it user. And in here I'm going to store all the pages which have to do with my user information. Now inside of this user folder I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to save it as register.blade.php. Now I'm going to go into hello.blade.php and copy this and paste it here because we're going to extend this master. We want to change up the title so it says register, and inside here we are going to create a basic form. One sec, let me have a look at some CSS styles that I want to put onto here so that we can get going very quickly. Okay, so I figured it out. First what we're going to do is create a div with a class of container. Now these classes are all from the Bootstrap CSS file which we downloaded in the previous video. So inside here we're going to have a title, h1, say register, and a form with a role is equal form. Now inside here we're going to have some div class form group, and each of our inputs is going to have a form group div outside of it. So I'm going to add a label for username, and inside here I'll do username, and then create the input with an ID of username, a name of username, a type of text, and a class of form control. Is that it for now? Yes. Now we want to copy this, and paste it 2 more times because I'm going to add a password field here and a confirm password field there, and change, of course, these IDs. So here to pass 1. And the way I select multiples is just selecting this one and then holding control and double clicking inside the others, so like that, and then pass 2 and then escape. So that should be pretty good. Now let me reload this user create route. Oh wait, I forgot one more thing. And inside user controller we want to return the view. Now it was in our user folder and the file was register. So now if I reload, this comes up with a form. Now I know it's not too pretty, but that's not the goal of this tutorial. Then we want to add one more field in here, which is a div class form group, and close off that div. And inside here I want to have an input type of submit, value of register, and a class of button default. And that adds this button here. Now this form is going to post to or send its data to the route we created called user create. Now this is all good. You could just say the method should go, or the action should be /user/create. However, if you then want to change this route, then you have to go over all your files and change the route everywhere. So what we are going to use is named routes. Now to do that, we want to go after this comma here and type array and an open bracket, and after these last quote, add a closing bracket. Now here we want to just do like this. So it uses, let me see if I can make this, I think that's too small. Oh well, do it like that. So it uses the user controller at post create, and we are going to name it as post create for the sake of simplicity. So there you have it. That's a named route called post create. Now to use that, we're going to go back in here, and inside the form tag we're going to add an attribute. The method is going to be post, and the action is going to be a PHP function. Now Blade uses double curly braces to echo PHP data, and then we're going to use a Laravel function or method inside the URL class. So URL routes, and then the parentheses, and then the name of the route. So post create inside quotes. Save that. Now I did forget one thing inside here, and that was to in here also do these double curly braces and type form token. Now this will echo a hidden input field that contains a random string of characters, which is used by this CSRF filter to check if the post comes from our page or not. So now if we refresh here and inspect the elements, sorry this is in Dutch, we have to click the bottom thingy, and then if you see here, the action is at localhost user create, and here it has an input with a name of token, a type of hidden, and a value of a random string, which should also be stored. If I go to resources and cookies and localhost, this Laravel session should have the same thing. Oh well, never mind. So yeah, now we want to handle the post data, so I'm going to go to my user controller, and in this post create method we are going to start actually validating. Now the first thing we want to do is make sure that our input is, well, the type of input that we want. So first of all, we want to validate the input, as that's called. So I'm going to create a validate a variable which is equal to validator, I think it's make, and then the first parameter is going to be the input, which can be retrieved by using input all, which just gets all the input, and then an array of the rules that you want to validate against. Now if we open up the Laravel docs very quickly, laravel.com/docs, and let that load and go to validation. Let me just check. Yes, validator make. Good. Now if you go down here, you can see a list of available validation rules that you can use. Okay, so what we want to do in here is an array is going to be an associative array, so the key is going to be a string and the value is going to also be a string. The key is going to be the name of the field, so my first name will be username, and then the rules I want to validate against will be in here. Now let me have a quick look here in another project I have got open so I don't miss out on any stuffs, because that would be kind of stupid, I guess. Okay, yes. So the first rule we want to add is the required rule. Now that makes sense because we want all of our fields to be required. This is going to be pass 1, and this is going to be pass 2, according to these names over here. Now don't mistake ID for name. The name is what is referenced in PHP. So this is pass 2. We all want them to be required. Now this pass 2 variable has to be the same as pass 1 because we want them to match. As well as we want the input to be unique in our users table because, well, it doesn't make sense to have duplicate users. And we want a password of with a minimum of, let's say, 6 characters, and a user with a minimum of, let's say, 4 characters. And yeah, well, we don't have to add a minimum over here because it has to match password 1, and if this has less characters, then it doesn't match. So that's pretty simple. Now, we have to do a check. So if the validate fails, which means something went wrong, we want to return a redirect. So we want to redirect the user to a route. And in this case, I want to go back to my routes file and change this get route here. Oh, by the way, let me add in these things, which I forgot. I also put that in the last video. You can leave those in there. Change this to a named route as well. So an array like that, and then as get create, and in here whoops, like that, uses the user controller. Now if I go back to here, I want to redirect them to the route of get create, and I want to send it with errors of the validate thingy, and I want to send it with inputs. Now this is going to make sure that once a user makes a mistake, they don't have to fill out every field on the form again. Now if you have a small application, that isn't really a problem like ours. However, if you use this for, say, a bigger form and they make one tiny mistake and they have to fill out the entire form again, that's not very user friendly. So that's why we do with input. Now else it passes, of course. What we want to do now is add the user to the database. So what we are going to do is we are going to, and now that I am looking at this other project, I can see that we made an error. Namely, we did not provide a code or a hash. Now, let me see. One sec, guys, I'll be right back. Okay, yeah, never mind what I said there. That was completely off topic. I was confused by something else. So what we want to do is create a user object, which is going to be equal to user create. Now, this user create method lets us, well, create a user basically, and this user class is a model which is connected to our database, and the models can be found inside the models folder. As you can see, Laravel comes with a a defined user model, and it has a table inside it, which is users. By default, Laravel, or Eloquent as this is called, assumes that your table is lowercase and plural form of the model. So this is user, so that's users. Technically speaking, this is not necessary. However, it's good practice to define it to prevent errors. And well, this is just an array, which means that when you retrieve user data from a session, it won't get the password, and if you got one, a remember token, because of course that's not safe for the application. So now what we're going to do is user create, and we are going to pass it an array. Now this create methods, by the way, also comes from Eloquent. So yeah, now in this array, why is it tabbing like that? We have again an associative array, and the keys have to be the names of the table columns. So when you go to database migrations and then create users table, you can see that we created a field username and password. Now timestamps will be automatically filled in, increments will be done automatically by MySQL, and enum has a default of 0, so that's now no problem at all. So we just want to pass the username, which is going to be empty for now, and the password. Okay, so what's the username? Well, the username is the input field. So you used again the input class with the get method on username, because username was the name of the field, like the actual name of the field. Let me close out of that. And the password is going to be input get password. Now, doing it like this, I guess it works. However, it's by far not the best way to do it, because this will store a plain text version of the password. Now, even if you have, theoretically speaking, unbreakable security on your server, which is never true, you would not want to store plain passwords. You always want to encrypt them. So we are going to again use some pre-built functions in Laravel to do that, and it's very simple. Just using the hash class, make on the password, and this will return a string. I think it's 64 in length, and that will be our password. However, you will not be able to read it as a human being. Now, if user, and this basically says if the user was created successfully, we want to return a redirect route home. Now, of course, we have not created this home yet, so again, back to the routes file, to this home route, I guess you could call it. Just, oh, this is an typo. I'm going to copy this array over here and paste it over here and change this to home controller at hello and as home. Okay, so that's now a named route, and we're going to redirect then to home. And now we're going to use another new thing in Laravel called flashing. Now, flashing is basically storing data in a session so that and that gets deleted the next time the page gets loaded. So one example of this is, for example, if you register the user, in our case, you want to give them a message, okay, you've registered successfully. However, you do not want that message to keep showing. So they use sessions, and then once they reload the page, which is done by this redirect, the session gets destroyed and what was in the session gets displayed, but only while they have the page open. Once they reload the page, that session is gone, so it will not show, if that makes sense. So the way this works is you do a redirect route, and then you do with, and then there's a key and a value. Now I'm going to use two keys mainly, namely success, which obviously handles the success messages, and I'm going to say you registered successfully, you can now log in. Now if for some reason there was an error with the database, you want to return a redirect. I'm going to do it home again. However, this is going to be with a fail, and I'm just going to neatly say an error occurred while creating the user. Please try again. Now, if the database is up and the connection is working successfully, this will not get used if a user has wrong input, for example. This will only be the case if there was really an error with the connection to the database, or Laravel has some kind of error in how it builds the queries to the MySQL database. So that's all good and dandy. Now, closing out of there, I want to go to the hello.blade.php again, and I want to display the messages here. To do that, we are going to use Blade templating again, and if one sec, let me have a look again at the other project to make sure that I don't make any stupid errors here, because that would be weird, I guess. Okay, yeah, I was correct. If session has, and then the key that you specified in here, so success or fail. So if it has success, else if session has fail, and if. So this is an if statement in Blade. So what we now want to do is we want to we want to output a div, and we are going to use some Bootstrap for this. So if I just quickly have a look at the Bootstrap documentation to get the right component name, which is always nice. Okay, so new, not like that. This will have a class of alert, and it will be a alert success. And inside here, I just want to echo, which is these curly braces again. I want to echo session. What is it? I forgot. Why do I always forget? Fail. No, session get, and then the key. So success. On the other hand, over here, I want to alert a fail, or danger in this case, and this will be fail. Now these will only show if there is a session with the success or fail keys in them. Now let me have one last check in the user controller. Does everything look okay? Yes, it does. So let's have a quick test. Reload the page. Great, no errors. Now I'm going to type in some. Oh, wait. I forgot something. Validating this, of course, is very good, and we are sending back the input if the validation fails. However, if the user cannot see the input, then or the errors, then there's no real use to them. So what we are going to do is we're going to show the user what errors they had. Now, how we're going to do this is we are going to let me have a quick think here. Yeah, okay. Now, here we are going to, just for aesthetics, we are going to add one of these blade echo statements again. Now, don't mind, you can add a space here, doesn't really matter. And inside this echo statement, we are going to check if errors, and errors is the value that always comes with the inputs echoed back, or the errors echoed back to a route, or this route. So if the errors has, and then, so errors has, and then the name of the field, username, then we want to echo a space and has error. Else we want to echo nothing. Now, what I did here is basically a very, very, very short way of an if statement. And actually, to make it more clear, I'm going to do it like this. So this is the statement, and this is like the bracket at the end. And then here it says, well, if there is an error with the username field, then do this, else do this. So if there's an error, we are going to append the hasError class to this group. And down here, I am going to do if, another if statement, this time just a long one. Again, errors has username, and if, because we don't need an else this case, we want to echo that error. So error get. Oh no, we want to get the first error because there might be multiple errors with the input, so we want to get the first error. So error first, username. And basically you just copy this for each, not like that, each field, and in here as well, like this, and change this back to endif, and here copy this ternary thing, short if statement, in here as well, and change this to pass1 and pass2. Now that should have done it. Now let me see, reload, good, no errors. Now if I type something wrong in here and make the password too short, did I not change that to password type? Ugh, stupid me. Inside the passwords, we of course want to hide the text, so we want to change the type of password fields to password. Oddly enough, reload the page, good. Great, now that's not an issue anymore. So if I just enter a random username and a password that is too short, 2 characters, and they don't match, now if I register, it should here. Now it uses the name field, so you might want to add more descriptive names, or go through Laravel docs and find the way to create custom messages, which is possible and it's very easy to do. However, it's beyond the scope of this tutorial. So yes, now if I do a good username, which is going to be my username of my channel, and just password, this should lead me to the home page. And there was an error. Oh, right, mass assignment. Okay. Yes, that makes sense. Now, I have to change this up then a little bit. It's not too difficult to change this up. We are just going to do this differently. So, user, and I'll keep this as a reference up here, is equal to a new user object, which is again this user model. Now I'm going to set the properties, so user and then the name of the field, so username is equal to this, and user password equals this, and it. Now, if user save, then that, and we can get rid of this. The error you saw there was a way that Laravel protects your database against mass assignment, which basically means that it protects hackers, I guess, to send large and or send large queries that have a great impact on your table. So yeah, this is the better way to do it. And this, of course, is the beauty of Laravel, so you can just assign these columns in a object-oriented way. Now, if I go to reload this and click, well, this should be continue or something in English. Here, you successfully registered. You can now log in. And if I go to localhost/phpMyAdmin, so I can load up that and go to my database and check the users, we have got one user with a great and very readable password, of course. So that was this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next video is going to be a bit longer as well, I guess like this one, and we are going to cover the logging in of users. I will see you guys then.